Hello everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bulletin. Today, we're bringing you a story that has surprised fans and sparked endless discussion. During what was meant to be a picture-perfect moment, Shin and Kim Woo-bin made a bold and unexpected choice at their wedding ceremony, one that no one saw coming. What exactly happened on that special day? Why did this single decision leave guests and fans completely stunned? Stay with us, because we're about to uncover the full story behind this unforgettable wedding surprise, starting right now. For months, everything about the wedding of Shin and Kim Woo-bin seemed wrapped in quiet certainty. Flashy announcements. No dramatic countdowns. Just two people known for guarding their private lives with almost stubborn determination. Choosing to step into marriage away from the noise they had spent years surviving. Or so everyone thought. Behind the calm exterior, however, tension was building. Those close to the couple later revealed that the days leading up to the ceremony were anything but routine. The venue was chosen with care, far from crowded attention. Yet every detail carried weight. Each decision felt symbolic. Each moment felt final. This was not just a wedding, it was the culmination of years marked by illness, recovery, patience, and an unspoken promise to protect what mattered most. Guests arrived expecting elegance and intimacy. What they didn't expect was disruption. As the ceremony began, everything appeared flawless. Soft light filtered through the space. Music filled the air with restrained emotion. When Shin walked forward, there was a visible stillness among the guests. The kind that only appears when something deeply meaningful is unfolding. Kim Woo-bin stood waiting, composed but visibly emotional. His hands clenched as if grounding himself in the moment. Then, something changed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic in the way headlines usually demand. It was subtle, but unmistakable. A pause that lasted just a second too long. A glance exchanged that carried more weight than vows prepared in advance. Those watching closely sensed it immediately. This was not part of the plan everyone had assumed. Instead of proceeding as expected, the couple made a decision, quiet, deliberate, and completely unscripted. They stopped. In that moment, the ceremony shifted from tradition to intention. Shin and Kim Woo-bin chose to abandon a key part of the conventional ritual they had rehearsed. There were no gasps, no murmurs. Only stunned silence. The atmosphere transformed into something raw and intimate. As if the walls themselves leaned in to listen. What followed wasn't confusion, it was clarity. The couple chose authenticity over expectation. They spoke words that hadn't been written down. They acknowledged not perfection, but survival. Not fantasy, but reality. Those present later described it as witnessing something deeply personal, almost sacred. As if they had been allowed into a space normally hidden from the world. This was not a performance. This was a statement. And as the ceremony continued under this new rhythm, it became clear that this bold choice wasn't impulsive. It was the result of years spent learning what truly mattered, and what didn't. The aftermath was immediate and overwhelming. News of the unexpected moment spread quickly. Not because of spectacle, but because of its emotional impact. Struggled to describe what they had witnessed. There were no scandalous details. No shocking visuals, just a sense that something deeply human had taken place. Fans reacted with disbelief at first. Many questioned what exactly had changed during the ceremony. Others speculated endlessly, trying to reconstruct the moment piece by piece. But as accounts aligned, one truth emerged clearly. Shin and Kim Woo-bin had chosen meaning over image. Industry insiders later revealed that the couple had discussed the possibility of making a last-minute decision, but never imagined they would actually do it. The pressure to maintain perfection had been enormous. Yet standing there, face to face, they chose honesty instead. That choice resonated far beyond the ceremony. People began to talk, not about dresses or decorations, but about courage. About how rare it is, especially for public figures, to reject expectations at such a pivotal moment. The wedding became less about celebration and more about declaration. A declaration that love does not need to be staged to be powerful. Shin and Kim Woo-bin didn't explain themselves afterward. They didn't release statements. They didn't clarify rumors. Silence, this time, felt intentional, not protective, but complete. Had said everything they needed to say at the altar. Over time, reactions softened into reflection. Fans expressed gratitude rather than curiosity. Many admitted that witnessing such a choice forced them to reconsider what commitment truly looks like. Not grand gestures, Quiet decisions made when no one is watching, or when everyone is. What made the moment unforgettable wasn't shock. It was restraint. It was the refusal to turn something sacred into content. In an industry built on spectacle, that refusal felt revolutionary. The wedding passed, but the message lingered. Shin and Kim Woo Bin didn't just marry each other that day. They redefined how the world saw them, not as idealized figures, but as two people choosing truth over tradition. And in doing so, they created a moment far more lasting than any carefully planned ceremony ever could. Sometimes, the boldest choice isn't what you add, but what you dare to leave out. And that, perhaps, is why this wedding will be remembered long after the flowers fade and the music stops. Weeks that followed, the weight of that single moment continued to ripple outward in ways no one had anticipated. What happened during the ceremony refused to settle into a simple anecdote. It lingered, quietly, persistently, reshaping how people spoke about the couple, about weddings, and even about love itself. Shin and Kim Woo Bin returned to their lives without explanation. No interviews. No carefully curated photos. No attempt to frame the moment for public consumption. This absence of clarification only deepened the impact. In a culture accustomed to instant narratives, their refusal to define what happened became its own statement. Those who attended the ceremony found themselves replaying the scene repeatedly in their minds. The pause. Exchanged look. The decision that felt heavier than any spoken vow. Several guests later admitted they had never witnessed anything like it, not because it was dramatic, but because it was stripped of performance. It felt real in a way that made people uncomfortable with how staged so many celebrations had become. For Shin, the aftermath was introspective. Friends noticed she moved with a new steadiness, as if something long carried had finally been set down. Had always been composed in public, careful with words and appearances. But now there was a visible calm. One that came not from control, but from alignment. What she felt, what she chose, and what she showed were no longer in conflict. Kim Woo Bin, too, seemed changed. Those close to him described the quiet confidence that hadn't been there before, not pride, but certainty. He had faced uncertainty before in life. Moments far more frightening than standing at an altar. And perhaps that history made the choice easier. Already learned what truly matters. Tradition loses its authority. Speculation continued, of course. Some claimed the decision was spontaneous. Others insisted it had been planned all along. But the truth, as often happens, somewhere in between. It was a possibility they had allowed themselves. When the moment arrived, they trusted it. What struck the people most was what the couple chose not to do. They didn't turn their wedding into a narrative of struggle or triumph. They didn't frame themselves as symbols or survivors. They simply stood together and adjusted the moment to fit who they were, not who they were expected to be. Conversations shifted. Online discussions grew less sensational and more reflective. They began sharing their own stories, of ceremonies that didn't feel right, of words they wished they had said, moments when they followed expectation instead of instinct. It became a mirror, not a spectacle. In the industry, the moment was quietly acknowledged as rare. Public figures are trained to minimize risk, especially during milestones so heavily scrutinized. To deviate, even gently, was to invite uncertainty. Yet Shin and Kim Woo Bin accepted that uncertainty without hesitation. Their silence afterward was not avoidance. It was completion. They had made their choice when it mattered most. Nothing else felt unnecessary. Years from now, details will blur. The venue, the guest list, the flowers. But what will remain is that pause, brief, intentional, and irrevocable. A reminder that even in moments designed to follow a script, it's still possible to listen inward and act accordingly. Is what made the moment unforgettable. Not the surprise itself, but the courage to choose it. As this story comes to an end, what lingers is not the surprise itself, but the meaning behind it. Shin and Kim Woo Bin did not shock the world by doing something loud or dramatic. They did so by choosing honesty in a moment when expectations were highest and freedom was hardest to claim. Their wedding became memorable not because it broke tradition, because it reminded everyone that tradition should never outweigh truth. In a space filled with witnesses, cameras, spoken pressure, they chose alignment over appearance, passion over performance. That single decision transformed a private ceremony into a quiet statement that resonated far beyond the room. offered no explanations afterward. And perhaps that was the most powerful choice of all. Moments do not need to be translated into headlines or clarified through interviews. They exist fully as they are. In their sincerity. What remains is a lasting impression. Love does not have to be perfect, planned, or polished to be meaningful. Sometimes, it only needs the courage to pause, to listen, and to choose what feels right, even if no one else expects it. Thank you for staying with this story until the very end. Thank you for reading with curiosity and an open mind. We appreciate you being here with us. We hope this story offered not just intrigue, but reflection. We look forward to sharing more stories with you, stories that go beyond ceremony, beyond rumor. The quiet decisions that truly shape people's lives. Thank you for watching, reading, and listening.